today I really wanted to look into this. This literally dropped into the mainstream feed just a few hours ago about heat pumps. Now, I would really love to hear from you if you have a heat pump where you live, whether it's already there, whether you decided to get one, whatever it is, we would really love to know what your experiences are. Now, I've got some friends who have actually got them, and from what I've been hearing, it seems to be a nightmare, but not an isolated case. It seems to be quite commonplace. Now, are we being told about this? So, what happened this morning? Apparently, the government's target of getting a minimum of 600,000 heat pumps installed across the UK looks to be failing. Why? Very good questions indeed. Now, listen to this. In 2022, only 55,000 of these heat pumps were installed. Only. It still seems to be quite a lot, in my opinion. Now, there is links below this video, and I'd urge you to have a look at. All right. One of them is called The Heating Hub. Now, when I was researching earlier, I come across this website, and it deals with mis-selling, substandard installations, high energy bills. I'm not joking. I could go on for about an hour listing the different complaints and the things that go wrong with these hideous heat pumps. It really, really is insane. It's pure insanity. Okay. Now, common issues. Lots of them, apparently, they trip out all of the electrics. Ideally, the ones that they're moving on to need to be having a three-phase electrical supply. Now, how many people's houses are set up for three-phase electrics? Probably not that many. Needless to say, all of this electronics to do with this needs to have a major uphaul. Okay. Unbelievable. Sorry, overhaul. So yeah, you are looking at some parts of the house being rewired to cater for all this. What about freezing up in winter? Believe it or not, this is a very common thing. There's a video below this. I urge you to check it out. It's really, really informative about this guy who makes YouTube videos, is basically a heating engineer, and his experiences, and one of the members of the public who contacted him saying he's had big problems with his heat pump experiment. Now, I'd love it if you guys was to watch that video. I'd link that underneath this one. Okay, it's really, really interesting. And indeed, I've left a comment on that video too, and you'll find it once you've seen the other comments as well. Now, freezing up in winter, this guy's personal experience, plus 3 degrees C, his heat pump was failing. Why? It was freezing up, and he was woken up in one February evening to this ticking noise. He couldn't understand what it was, and he realized it was coming from outside. He went outside to exactly where his heat pump was. Now, what was happening? All of the fins were freezing, and the fan had ice on it. And what was happening is, as the fan was spinning, it was tapping the ice which was growing within this machine. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have seen a heat pump personally. I have, and let me tell you this, it's unbelievable. Okay, they basically urge you to fit these heat pumps on a south-facing side of your property. Why? Because guess what? Heat pumps don't like cold. We're in the UK. When winter happens, it gets cold. It's absolutely not fit for purpose, 100%. Now, you look at some of the comments of the people underneath this video who will tell you the problems that they've had with theirs. If it gets really, really cold, these things fail. Basically, if you put your hand about 10 inches or so away from the fan when they're turned on, it is ice cold air being blown out. Ice cold. It is like colder than air conditioning. It's insane. So what would happen if lots of properties had all of these fans dishing out freezing cold air in the winter? The temperature will get colder, surely. I'm not a scientist. It seems feasible. Let me know in the comment section what you think about that. It's unbelievable. But not only that, the noise. If you have one heat pump in operation, the noise is ridiculous. It's a very strong whirring fan noise. Can you imagine if you had a whole city with 300,000 homes having these on, all of them going at the same time? Can you imagine the noise outside? The bottom line is you probably wouldn't want to go outside. Why? Because it'd be too freaking loud. It will be beyond compare. You would not be able to understand why the hell it's so noisy. It would be horrible. Can you imagine the effects it would do to the environment and the wildlife? They're not going to want to hang around. What about dogs? Dogs have very sensitive hearing, so do cats. How are they going to fare going outside? They won't be able to handle it. Birds won't be able to handle it. Bees, etc. It's an absolute nightmare waiting to happen. But based upon the findings which come out in today's report, it's looking promising because it seems that the general public are waking up and wising up to the realization that these heat pumps are a frigging disaster right from the outset. I could be interviewing someone very soon, their experiences of 5 years with a heat pump, and from what they've told me, it will blow your mind. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to do that video, and you will be shocked. I am not joking. It will probably get a lot of views because what's happened to this person with all of their experience with this heat pump, unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Now, who has a gas boiler or who had a gas boiler? Gas boilers are awesome. They are really, really good. You can literally control the heating in your home instantly. You can make it warm, hot, cold, very, very quickly. What about if you've got a gas cooker? Okay, the gas hob with the blue flames. It's so much easier to cook and control the temperature with that. Hands up who has an electric cooker with an electric ceramic flat hob. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You turn the temperature up, you have to wait for a while. You turn it off, it takes ages to cool down. It is not up to the job. If you're cooking, you want certain temperatures rapidly. Okay, it's just not good enough. Think about that in your home. Sometimes it takes 3 days to warm your home up sufficiently with a heat pump. Did you know that? It's unbelievable what they are trying to push out there. It really, really is. Now, the government, they are doing whatever they can to get people on board with these heat pumps. You name it. They are going to be doing a media campaign. We'll touch on that in a sec. But basically, they are giving people £7,500 towards the installation of a heat pump. Sounds good. Really? You're still going to have to find another £7,000, £8,000, £9,000 with your own money to get one of these things put in. Now, the average cost for a detached house is about £16,000. Who has that sort of money laying around? Okay, all of the pipes, all of the radiators, all of them have to be removed and replaced with larger sizes. Have you seen a radiator which is needed to go with a heat pump? It's nearly double the thickness, double the size. It's insane. What's it like in your house? How would it look with these extra large radiators that are on steroids? It's crazy, but that's the truth of it. If you don't believe me, just look at some pictures. It's just ridiculous. It really, really is ridiculous. Now, the UK weather, it gets cold and wet, of course. But when they show images and the scenario, look what's happening in Scandinavia, where it's -20 and they're still fine. There's a huge fundamental difference between the UK and other European and Scandinavian countries. Why? Because in wintertime, they get cold, dry weather. Who has been skiing abroad? The snow is like powder. When we get snow in the UK, it's like frozen slush. It's cold, it's wet. That's why we have so many problems in this country with the roads. It's way different than other countries. It is what it is. So fundamentally, the heat pump project is doomed to fail here in the UK because we get cold, wet winters. And let's face it, that's when we're going to need to heat our homes the most. It's a bit of a no-brainer. It's not going to work. What about freezing up? Now, in winters, it's the fins and the blades which seem to be frozen. In fact, if you look at that picture on the thumbnail, that is quite typical. When it gets really cold, these things just don't want to work. They really don't want to work. Like I said, the noise is just ridiculous. You wouldn't believe how noisy these things are. They really, really are. Now, think about this. I really want you to let this sink in, okay? Based on global figures, right? The UK on full power, okay? So in the peak of winter time, when it's at its coldest, when the whole of the United Kingdom is literally using so much energy to keep warm, keep things moving, keep the lights on, everything, the whole entire country. That all of that energy contributes to 1% of the global carbon issue. 1%. Now, I would say 1% is extremely negligible. Okay, it really, really is. Look at what's going on in China, America, Russia, India. Look at their energy consumption and look at the UK. It's what if we done the very best that we could, it's not going to make a frigging difference at all to the world. It is not going to make any difference. 1%. It's just crazy. It really is. Now, because of these issues with these heat pumps, there is an absolute massive, huge backlog to get these things maintained and repaired because they are failing. They are not doing what they said. Sales people, etc., have been telling people what they would do. It's one of the biggest scams going. It is way past the cavity wall insulation scam, which is only designed to work on certain houses, not all. The problem is the government and its net zero BS agenda want all houses in the UK. It is not going to work. Let me know if you've had cavity wall insulation in your property and you've had mold and damp, etc. If you look at the statistic, that should never happen, but it does. And I'm not joking. Just do some looking around online. The people who are seriously gutted since they've had their heat pumps installed. It's an absolute joke. So like I said, please watch the video underneath this one. These guys who have a good talk about it, it's mind-blowing, okay? And it's only been out for a few months. It's really, really interesting. Now, listen to this. The rollout for heat pumps have been delayed to April next year, okay? The installation targets of 600,000 heat pumps by 2028 will have to increase 11 times their current installation numbers or figures. They have to grow 11 times more. And even then, you're still running close to the wind to get these targets met by 2035. Now, listen to this. The government want to see 1.6 million heat pumps installed in the UK every single year. 1.6 million heat pumps installed all over the UK every year. Can you just imagine the expense, the upheaval, the amount of upset people because they are still cold in their homes? They're paying a fortune. These heat pumps keep failing. The amount of noise it's going to do, the amount of disruptions it's going to do to wildlife, etc. It's just plain wrong. The government, get this, are spending millions on heat pump media campaigns on television, radios, papers, and social media. They are spending millions of our taxpayers' money towards trying to convince people it's a great idea to go green and save the planet and all that bullshit. It's bullshit. Of course it is. If you think I'm making all this up, watch the links underneath this video, do some of your own research, and you will come to the conclusion that we are absolutely being lied to. Furthermore, this absolutely conveniently molds into the control grid, which what they want to do. They want everyone to be hooked up to 5G with smart meters. Everything's linked and everything's smart and convenient. Well, guess what? If they ever manage to get that done, who can say it can or cannot be switched off and changed? Who can say it will or will not be hacked? And having someone turn your heat pump basically off. It might as well be off because the amount of complaints people are saying. They've spent like £17,000 getting a heat pump installed into their home and it's barely lukewarm. They're freezing. They want it all out. They want their gas boiler back in. You should see the engineers out there who are getting complaints. All they are doing is following the drawings and installing it as per LG or Mitsubishi's instruction procedures, etc. Sorry, their assembly procedures. And it's just not working. It's absolutely ridiculous. This has to stop. So please let me know if you are an owner of a heat pump. Do you know anyone who's had one fitted? What are they telling you about their experience? please let everyone know in the comments. It'd be really good to hear from you. And if you want to look into this more, please send me an email, because the email address is right underneath this video. So you guys take care. Thanks for watching. Stay funky.